There are many things that can happen to a person that can cause pain or emotional difficulty. The real problem is when we don't adequately process that pain, and it can cause problems for many years to come. Stick around after the intro, and I'll talk to you about an event in my life that I haven't really fully processed yet. Hello, I'm Rick Sundstrom, and I want to welcome you to Journey Beyond Belief. Today, I'm going to talk about an event in my life that caused a lot of disruption and pain, and how I really haven't adequately resolved that pain and dealt with the problems that it's causing me. First of all, let me tell you a little bit of a story. Now, I think I've told you part of this story before, and that was in my video about Welcome to the Not Church and about how I was a pastor and that fell apart. That's definitely a major component of this. If you want to hear about the Not Church and that story, there's a link to that video in the description below. But let me tell you the part of that story that I really didn't elaborate on because it didn't really fit the purpose of that video. And that is the backstory, the setup to that. As I said before, I was an evangelical pastor for 17 years. And it was more than just a job, obviously. When you start talking about religious things, there's a lot of deep feelings that are involved with it. For me personally, I felt that it was a calling, something that I had been wanting to do for a long time. I considered it a purpose in life. In fact, I believed that God himself had called me to plant these churches and to make a difference in people's lives. So, you can have your various opinions about that. I'm just saying that to let you know how important this was to me. It wasn't like, going to college and just getting a career. This was something that was much, much bigger than that to me and much deeper. And as I had related before, there was a process in my life where my faith came unraveled, and I realized that it was really no longer tenable for me to be a pastor. And as you can imagine, this caused great distress to me, because not only was it a loss of a career, which can be very harmful to someone in any circumstance, it also was the loss of a dream, because it's something I had dreamed of doing since I was a young child. It was the loss of life purpose, because I believed that this was something that God himself had called me to, as I had alluded to before. And it just was crushing at that time. I had since moved on, and again, the rest of that story is in the Welcome to the Not Church video, and became a software engineer, switched careers. And I truly believed, that I had processed the loss and all that stuff. But in reality, even though I had processed some of it, obviously I was forced to go back to school, get another career, deal with the aftermath of that whole thing. And for all intents and purposes, I had, have a normal life. But there was still emotions that would come up. For example, a friend of mine, and I thought was kind of acting weird. He wanted to come over and share something with me at a surprise for me, and he was kind of being secretive. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of strange. But it was during the time of COVID in 2020, and I'm like going, we were kind of, my wife has a health condition, and underlying health condition, and we didn't really want to risk a lot of exposure because she had it would be bad for her if she got COVID. And so I thought, okay, fine, let's do this over Skype. We'll video it. And he had some surprise for me. And here, the surprise basically was a person who had been involved in the first church I had planted and was a friend of mine for many years, and had moved away, had moved to a town that was close to us, and he was actually at that person's house, and their original plan was that he was going to come over and surprise me. And when they finally revealed him in the video, it brought up a lot of unexpected emotions, and just a whole flood of things just came over me. And it wasn't like a panic attack, but it was just, I could tell something was wrong. And I began to think back to times when I had seen like various people who had went to my church in the grocery store or something, and I would intentionally like hide from them or move to another aisle and not go up and talk to them. And as I began to consider it, I realized that there was still some feelings I hadn't dealt with. I mean, this was a big deal. I felt probably one of the biggest regrets of my life, and felt like I had wasted 20 years and all this other stuff. And a lot of people that, I didn't really want to have anything to do with, or didn't want to be around because it was uncomfortable because of the religious differences that we had now. And that's always problematic because it can be a controversial thing and can cause, make conversations awkward at the best, and can actually become heated at the worst. But, I guess what I'm saying is that I thought that I had adequately processed a lot of these things. But I realized as these situations were presenting itself, whether running into the people at the grocery store or the surprise video call, there was still a lot of stuff there that I hadn't dealt with. One of the things that I had always wanted to do after this was to go to counseling. I for whatever reason, I struggled with this idea of going to counseling. I thought, I admitted to myself that, yeah, this would probably be a good idea. This was a big event that happened in your life. You probably should go through a counselor and let that person help you process this a little bit, to help you get through this. And I'd always just kind of put it off. I really had never been a person that used counselors before, or went to therapy, and there's kind of a stigma attached to it, which is unfortunate because we go to the doctor if we get sick and we need to deal with it. We go to the doctor, get medication, deal with our sicknesses, but yet there just seems to be this stigma attached to any kind of mental health issues. You go through something that's painful, that might cause emotional problems, we should just as quickly take care of it. And because of this, then I was forced to deal with this. And actually shortly after, I signed up for a counseling appointment. I made an appointment. It's I haven't went to it yet, but hopefully in the future I'll be able to make some video or something about how helpful it's been for me. At least I hope so. And I began to think, if there was something like this that happened in my life, there's probably other people. And I just want to make a call to you and say, hey, is there anything in your life that you recognize some triggers, something that makes you upset, maybe to react in ways that are maybe a little stronger reactions than they should be. It's something that causes emotional reactions in you. Because for me, it was like if I just thought about certain people, it would just cause me to become angry or anxious, and I'm like, there's something here that's not right. I ask, hey, there's no shame in this. Emotional health, mental health is something that we all need to be concerned about. And I'd say, hey, join me. If there's something that you haven't resolved with, you need to process the pain. You need to process that. Counseling is a good way to do it. If you don't want to go to counseling, at the very minimum, talk about it with somebody. Talk about the events. Talk about the feelings that you felt. Process those feelings. But if I can make a therapy appointment, maybe you can too. Anyway, another thing that you can do, in addition to going to therapy, is you can join our support group on Facebook. It's really not a support group. It's our not church group where you can talk about some of your things. It's called Journey Beyond Belief. It's a private Facebook group. The link is down in the description. You can go to that link and request permission to join the group, and we'll let you in. And there you can talk about some of those things. You can talk about things that have caused you pain, and there'll be a supportive family there to help you through that. If nothing else, they can just listen and cheer you on. Or if you would, also, I would appreciate it if you can hit the like button on this video, maybe subscribe, and you can hear hopefully about how helpful this therapy was in the future. Or you can hear about some of the other topics and ideas that I'll be discussing in Journey Beyond Belief. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.